I don't know why the beginning of this video is so difficult to make. Attempt number 3. Look, I'm seriously thinking about exiting the conversation because, people have different motives. It's not a matter of getting to the bottom of anything anymore. I always knew, and I always said, and it's one of the reasons why I never took money from YouTube, that, in these like conversations that are supposed to be, pro community, whether it's pro black male or pro black woman or pro black community as a whole, once the money comes in there, and, people have basically created their factions and people have picked sides. Once people start making money, they got to keep going off in that direction. They got to keep that going. Okay. And so I've been doing some research, some homework, and this is what I recognize, right? So for the people who've been following me for a while, I've been coaching, young black men, and I use coaching lightly. Guys ask me questions, or guys, they want to know like what they should be doing, what direction they should be doing. Oh, I look at, Sarge like a big brother and all that. And I tell them, I'm like, write code, not rhymes. Write code, not rhymes. I tell them major in STEM. Science, technology, engineering, and math. Don't go to college wasting your money majoring in some old bullshit. I mean, major in something that some tech-based shit. And honestly, you don't even need to really go to college in order to get those tech-based skills. There's tons of videos on YouTube. I mean, you could be in high school and you could get way ahead of the game just by learning how to write, JavaScript and hold on. Let me go in here. I'm gonna give you the list. If I can find it. Let me see if I can find it. I'm gonna see if I can give you the list. Give me 1 second. Okay, we're gonna go through the list. There's Python, there's Java, there's JavaScript, there's PHP, there's Ruby, there's Swift, there's SQL, there's Objective-C, there's Perl, there's Scala, there's Rust, there's HTML, there's Kotlin, there's Haskell, there's Lua, Lua, there's Visual Basic, there's Cabal or COBOL, there's Fortran, there's CSS, there's there's MATLAB, there's Lisp, there's C++, there's TypeScript, there's Smalltalk, right? This is just a list of the type of code, that you can utilize in order to, learn how to, become software engineers and make $200,000 a year, or close to it, starting. Okay. Now that's not the field that I went into, but I'm saying, when I went to school with an idea of what I wanted to be when I came out. And we've talked about this numerous times about people following their passion. And a lot of women are more prone to doing this than men, which is why I always say it's detrimental for women to raise boys by themselves. Like I said in my last video, boys should not have a choice, because the whole community is predicated on how successful your boys are. But everybody wants to talk about strong independence and you go girl, and they've been talking about that for the last, 30, 40 some odd years. Okay? And we have this delusion among women that they're going to be kick-ass and strong and independent and go to the moon and back, and that they can go ahead and follow their passion, and that their passion will lead them to wealth and riches and, aristocratic, Hasidity lifestyles. And that's a fallacy. So, I've had a couple young guys that are like, thanks SWP for telling me to major in something else. I switched my major to computer science or something else. They were majoring in like some other shit. There's a lot of black men, they go out here and they major in business administration. And I say all the time, I'm like, the black community doesn't have any businesses. How are you as a black man in a community that has no businesses, how are you going to exercise or engage your, business administration degree? Why would a white man hire you when he looks at the black community doesn't have any businesses, and then think because you have a degree, from whatever university, that it's okay for you to go off and manage his businesses when you don't have any of your own? People have this, this fantasy of, somehow being like Eddie Murphy and Boomerang, and, just living that, urban city lifestyle, and being corporate and riding around in a brand new BMW, and, getting to wear, gray flannel suits and shit like that. The shiny ones, right? The ones that look like shark skin or scales or whatever. Not necessarily scales, but they have that, like, that gleam to them. I forget what it's called. But a lot of black people, a lot of people of our generation were sold on that idea. You just go to school and you get an education and you'll be out here making buku bucks. And now, 20 some odd years later, they're telling people that, well, degrees don't mean that much anymore, right? It's about your technical skills and all that other stuff, right? That's how you make money, right? And you got guys that literally went to community college, got an associate's degree, learn how to write, some sort of computer code, and they're making damn good money supporting the family and all that other shit, right? But I've had young men come to me, and say thank you. I've had young men come to me and, ask me like what they should major in. I'm like, it's STEM. If it ain't STEM, it's bullshit. And I'll tell them straight up. Don't come to me talking about, oh, I want to major in journalism, communications. I want to major in psychology. I want to major in, English literature. Okay, I want to major in, all this stuff that's bullshit, that doesn't make any damn money. Even if you go to college and let's say you major in biology, I hope you plan on at the very least getting a master's, or going off and, becoming a biochemical engineer, or going off and becoming a doctor or something. Something that you can at least take to a pharmaceutical company and have some technical skill. But honestly, and I remember there's a video, when it came to, being a biology major, that, there's no money in being a biology, majoring in biology. You have to have a terminal degree for a lot of the science degrees, but not when it comes to the computer stuff. So that's why I direct people to the computer stuff, because I'm trying to get black men on their feet as fast as possible. Now, how do I tie all that into the bullshit? Okay, it's like this. I've been tempted by the idea of, making money off of YouTube. But I knew that would be a problem for me. Hell, it was a problem when the adpocalypse came crashing down. You know why it was a problem? It was a problem because, see, this is what happens. People go on YouTube, they fuck around on YouTube. Oh, I can make money on YouTube. And then they go and with the YouTube money, they start buying things and purchasing things that they have to, pay off. They buy a luxury car. They buy, a big house. Okay. And then they get themselves into this sort of YouTube debt prison. And there's a number of people that have essentially done that already. And, when you make a YouTube channel, you have a particular audience. And that audience, when you're making money off of it and you want to make more money, you can't upset your audience. If you upset too much of your audience, you're not going to grow. You see, you're going to lose subscribers, right? You can't go from being, a vegan and then say, oh, I'm not a vegan anymore, and you had a vegan YouTube channel. You got to keep that shit up. You can't be in a swirl relationship and then realize that, y'all really, fell out of love 4 years ago, but you kept it going for an additional 4 years, because you have a whole bunch of followers of desperate black women who want to see that your interracial, black woman, white male relationship flourish. but the shit's been dead forever. But you've bought into this whole super expensive lifestyle that everybody constantly keeps wanting to see, and that's how people end up getting caught up. So now they gotta fake it, even though in truth they're miserable because they don't really want to live like that. But they gotta appease the audience so they can keep that check money coming. Okay, and then this rolls into why you end up with a lot of people online, who, yeah, they entered the black conversation with a particular mindset, a particular idea, and they went with the information they had at the time, as I did. Okay, and as the conversations went on, we gained more information, discovered more things. Okay, but you have people who, they've created an audience based off of, what they spew. And I'm saying you could break it into factions. I mean, you could be pro-black male, pro-black woman, pro-black community. And that's the brand. Okay. Now, I've known this before as it pertains to, for Harriet. And I did a little bit more research on Aisha. Okay. Now, I don't know what's been going on lately. Amy Loho put out another video basically parroting Aisha's whole concept about, what was it? Monogamy is for broke men. I'm like, yo, where is this shit coming from? Right? And then, I made the video talking about Amy Loho and, the video that she put out, and where she's like hinting at transgender or straight men getting with transgender women and how we should see them equally and value them just the same. Then for Harriet, she had her video, and then, again, that whole train wreck between the hypergamous camp and the femininity camp and the social justice warrior camp and all that shit, and, for Harriet, went to Harvard. But what did she major in? African American studies. What the fuck are you going to do with that? Aisha went to Yale and she majored in Eastern languages and civilization. What the fuck is that? Why are they even offering that at Yale? Now, I don't know what either one of these women are, I don't know what drives them. Arguably, people will say, and I don't know why for Harry it's just on some, I'm just going to let myself go type of shit. But anyway, arguably, you have two women that some people would say are at the opposite ends of the spectrum, when it comes to, their how they put themselves together. Okay, Aisha is a very attractive woman, and I've never seen her anything other than very attractive. I mean, she's got photos that, you see her and you just want to do exercises up in that motherfucker. Beautiful black woman. Can't take nothing away from her. But then you go and you listen to her rhetoric and it's disgusting. It's like, damn, like, who hurt you? What is this? But see, what it comes down to with doing some research is, she just wants to run shit. Like a lot of these women do. They just want to run shit. They don't want to be controlled by no man. The whole aspect of, it's just about, whether patriarchy works for you, whether you can get a man or not. Aisha ain't got no problem attracting black men. But see, the problem is that she wants to run shit. She's on some dark feminist shit that's some scary levels of divine female principles, virtually some voodoo type shit. Okay? And this is what I recognize. Okay? Both of these women went to Ivy League schools. The two top schools in the country, Yale and Harvard. And both of them, and I'm going to call it like it is, majored in bullshit. Yeah, so I got interrupted. Both of them majoring in bullshit. I mean, what are you going to do with African American studies? What are you going to do with Eastern languages and civilization? And so, Aisha went off. She was like a news reporter, journalist, whatever. She worked for some news station or whatever. And, all this is on her website, so it's not like I'm like doxing her or something like, it's all on her website. Okay. But see, the thing is don't get hustled by the hustle. And the reason I'm saying this is this, okay? Because there's a lot of women out here who they'll listen to these women who come online and come on YouTube, and you're not in the same situation as these women, but yet you identify with, whatever they're tapping into that you identify with. But I'm saying these women have, essentially put themselves, I don't know, maybe they went to school on a scholarship, but they've essentially put themselves in debt prison if they didn't. Okay, you went to some big, fancy, expensive university and majored in bullshit. Like, who goes to Harvard for some shit like that? Who goes to Yale for some shit like that? You could go to a community college and get a degree in some shit like that. You go to Harvard and you go to Yale, you better be in some lab that looks like it's some like MIT shit. That's the way I see it. And the thing is I know plenty of black women who, they want to do their own thing, strong, independent, brilliant black women. They went to medical school, they got their doctorate. They're out there killing it. Okay? And, you can't say anything to them because they went the route that obviously has the return on the investment. I'm going to be honest. I feel some type of way about some of these people that go off and they major, in bullshit, and I'm going to be real. Like, and when I say major in bullshit, like, it's like, how do you compare a valedictorian, somebody who goes off and majors in, I don't know, aeronautical space engineering, and you compare that to somebody who's a valedictorian because they majored in communications? Or is that equivalent in terms of like how hard they worked for the degree? Is that equivalent? No, it's not the equivalent. Now, I don't even know if universities or schools, weigh, the GPAs and stuff like that. I'm assuming that they do. But if they didn't, that would suck. I mean, why not just go to college and major in some easy shit or some simple shit? And see, here's the problem. Regardless of what either one of these women majored in and how hard it might have been and how much research they had to do and how much theory they had to come up with and how many papers and dissertations that they had to give, which then again, they wouldn't give a dissertation because that's for a PhD. That's not for a bachelor's degree. But I'm saying, the fact of the matter is, as somebody who is in STEM, I can tell you on both sides, you know what I mean? As a black man, if I go out there and I'm in the public spaces and I'm talking to somebody and they ask, hey, you went to school, you went to college, what school did you go to, blah, 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 and what you major in, and I tell them what I majored in, usually I'll get the, oh, you see what I'm saying? But there's a flip side to that. When you're with people who are all in STEM, and let's say somebody comes to the table and they went to Harvard or they went to Yale, and they say, yo, where'd you go to school? Blah, 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 blah. Oh, I went to Yale. Oh, people's ears will perk up. They'll be like, oh, wow, right? Everybody's like, oh, wow, right? Oh, where'd you go to school? I went to Harvard. Oh, wow, you went to Harvard. Oh, my God, this person's brilliant. This person's super smart, da-da-da-da. You know what's fucked up about how people judge like degrees and shit like that and the practical application of a degree is that the minute somebody says I majored in African American studies, all of the excitement about a person going to Harvard will drain from their faces. Somebody says, oh, I went to Yale, or I majored in Eastern languages and civilization, all of the being impressed will drain from their faces. And I'm pretty sure for Harriet and Aisha, feel that shit. And for women who want to be the baddest bitches on planet Earth and go to the moon and back and do rings around the laps of Saturn and, operate by the beat of their own drum, I'm sure that that's pretty painful, to feel that, because, men got a real funny way of letting people know, when you're like, beneath them, or even in interpersonal relationships. Everybody has their funny way of doing that. Hey, chick, don't get beside yourself. You're not on my level. And there's a lot of black women that don't like that. Again, which totally flies in the face of all these women running around screaming the rhetoric of hypergamy and dating up. They want to date up, but they don't like the idea of a black man being ahead of them, which is just insane. It makes no sense. Right? But, what ends up happening. Okay, so what happens when you go to school and you got a degree in some shit that you really can't get a job for to even pay back the note, to pay back the debt, the loans that you owe for your degree? Now, again, I don't know whether they got scholarships or not, but I'm saying even if they had full ride scholarships, even if they did, I'm saying you still got to make a living. You still got to earn. You still got to support yourself and whatnot. And how do you do that? With a degree that nobody values, nobody respects. I'm starting to think, that, this is part of the issue that some of these women have with patriarchy, or somehow it spills onto patriarchy. This idea that, that how dare their degrees not have value in society. I mean, take that idea and apply it to the same thing that, for Harriet, for example, is saying about transgender women and how they should have value, and aren't they deserving of love, and aren't they deserving of protection? And who are you to decide that? Telling men that they should value transgender women the same way that they value biological women. And that same type of mentality spills out into, the whole system, the system as a whole, right? And then we blame it on white supremacy, blame it on patriarchy, blame it on capitalism, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, people make choices, and it's like, you majored in bullshit. And I ran this by somebody else just to make sure. I was like, I took I sent a little screenshot of where it said, Aisha and what her background was and where she went to school and what she majored in. And I sent it to another black woman. And she was like, wait a minute. She went to Yale for that? Question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. I was like, yeah, that's what she went to school for. She was like, my father would never let that happen. They would never allow me to go to school, for, something like that. And I was like, yeah, don't I know it? Mine either. They wouldn't let me go to school for, all that money, all those thousands of dollars, for a degree like that. Like, nah, no. And I'm saying I struggled, when I got out, undergrad, and, that's what made me go back to school, and get a master's. You see? And I mean, that is the way of the world, unfortunately. But I knew not to major in something that didn't have a practical application. But see, this is what happens when you get women that go out there with this, you should be able, it's all about how you feel, and you should be able to major in, what you're passionate about. And this is the problem I have with women raising boys and these single mothers raising boys. Aside from the fact that women that don't want to be controlled by men, they're going to do, like Aisha, she pointed out how she is inspired by the character Robin Givens in Boomerang. Remember, Robin Givens was the boss in Boomerang. And remember, she was fucking around with Eddie Murphy, and then she clowned Eddie Murphy and bragged about his dick game. That's what she aspires to. She wants to do that. Which means, again, what is she going to be out here dealing with? Subordinate black men. As we've been pointing out so many times online when it comes to these women going out here and messing with broke dusties. They go out here and mess with broke dusties, and then when the shit doesn't work out, what do? They come back and they start screaming rape and pillage. You know, God forbid they have a son, and then the son goes out there. These women know nothing of manhood and the roles and the purpose of men, and they go and they spew their feminism and their matriarchy and their dark wombiverse bullshit on their sons, and then they end up with these weak beta male sons. And then when they can't control the boy lashes out, or he goes, down the Pookie route, or he's trying to get away from his controlling mother. He ends up in the streets or in jail, and he does something that embarrasses the mother. She's going to say what? Daddy was a Ray Ray and Pookie. He was a Dusty, rape and pillage. He didn't live up to the responsibilities, even though she chose a man who was not alpha, because she wanted to be the alpha female. She wanted to call the shots. Just think about how detrimental this is to a whole community if you have scores and scores of women who have this sort of mindset and think that they can somehow go up against the universe and facilitate this and perpetuate this. Go out there and get some simple-minded man. They're looking good. They throw some pussy at him. He nuts up in them. And the next thing you know, they having children by that dude. You're never going to end up with a situation where you have strong black males coming out of that are going to be able to compete in the economic marketplace, with other races of men or against other races of men and bringing resources and wealth back to their community. They don't even have the mindset. It's not even something that's encouraged in the black community because, misogyny, evil black man, misogynoir and all that other bullshit. This is why you have black men that are, just grossly frustrated, with black women and these sort of pervasive mindsets that exist in the black community. Okay. You're ahead of the woman, misogynoir. You're behind the woman, you're a broke dusty. You cannot win with this sort of shit. You have to go out there and find a woman that is conducive and cooperative to what your goals are and what you are trying to do as a black man in this world. You don't have to go out there and try to topple the system of white supremacy in one punch. Again, your main priority is your family and your household and raising your offspring, to be something in this world, to have something in this world. And then if you had enough men that were doing that and all their kids were about the same age, now you can talk some community shit. But if you got black men out here and they're not even getting with black women because you got guys that are just, fleeing in the opposite direction because, again, a man has no option but to walk away from a woman who is not cooperative. He has no option. He cannot protect her because she's going to buck him at every turn. She wants to do her own thing. She's going to challenge him at every decision he makes. Why put up with that? Hell, if he forces her to try to do anything, it's rape and pillage. Right? She's going to call the cops or whatever. So you can't force him to do anything. The only thing you can do is walk. This is what a lot of sisters don't understand about, why you end up with a lot of brothers that end up on the other side of the fence. I'm not making excuses for it. I'm saying it's a reality. This mentality that these women come online with is pervasive in the community. And you know what the sad part is? And again, I've identified this a long time ago. Okay. And especially with the aspect of the money coming into the room. These women, it doesn't matter how much logic I spew, how much stuff I lay out. They have built their brands off of the backs of hurt black women or rejected black women and, this sort of, business of inspiration. This idea that you are self-actualizing and that you can do anything you put your mind to and that you can run things and rule the world and all this other stuff, right? And, they're doing speaking engagements and they're making, videos and, people are sending them money on Patreon and freaking Cash App and whatever else it is. But once the money comes into it, you cannot tell which women are seeking truth and which women are out here to make a buck. Whether it's for Harriet or whether it's Aisha, if they weren't doing YouTube, if they weren't trying to expand their brand, what else would they be doing? Because they sure as shit can't do a fucking thing with the degrees that they went to these, Hasidity, high-end, freaking, Ivy League schools and got the degrees in. They can't do anything with them. They have to survive, and they got to survive off of basically a hustle. A hustle. And you got all these other women out here, that listen to this shit, and they think that it's the gospel truth. All I'm gonna say is be careful. Be careful what you're listening to. These are character models. All these women. It's like if they didn't have YouTube, what would they be doing? What would they be doing? What are their careers are YouTube, and the audiences that they've built are the audiences that they have, that they generate an income from. They can't sit there and change change their message. They'll lose subscribers. I don't care if I lose fucking subscribers. Hell, I only got 2,000 of them. I don't care if I lose fucking subscribers. These niggas ain't paying me. You know what I'm saying? I like this, I could take my channel, crumple it up, and throw it in the trash can. You know what I'm saying? That shit is of no matter to me. You see. But to these other people that are trying to come up with their brands and all this other stuff, I'm like, okay, so this shit is too toxic for me. I'm trying to have civil discourse, and these people are trying to keep their brands going because that's how they eat. They don't eat any other way. They always say, right, in the world of business, or the world of politics and stuff like that, follow the money. Follow the money. Well, I followed the money. And where I followed the money to showed me that, the only avenue of income that many of these voices on YouTube have, and I'm not saying that the men ain't on the same shit either, but a lot of the only income that they have is YouTube. And so, unfortunately, that's going to taint the message. That's going to taint the honesty and the genuineness. That's not even a word, but the what's the word that I'm looking for? Genuine. The genuineness of the conversation. Point blank period. Like I said, man, once people start going out and they buying cars and houses and condos and apartments and, jewelry, and they living a lifestyle based off of the income that they get off of YouTube, I don't want to say that they can't be trusted, but truth be told, a lot of them can't be trusted. And they're going to go up and they're going to push, these sort of, ideas and sort of agendas, because first off, they're not even conventional women to begin with. They're not even conventional women to begin with. Even if they went off and they majored in some other shit, hey, fuck it, let's make them all doctors. They would have been that doctor that nobody wanted to marry. Because as I've stated before, men will give you respect. They'll give you that. But they're not going to want to be with you. They're not going to want to be in a personal, interpersonal relationship with you. Because they recognize the power dynamic, especially men at that level. Especially men who went through all of the channels of power and understand, what it meant when they got to the level that they got. That's why you had that dude running around talking about, I'm the prize. Although he should have said that after he passed, his boards. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying, the men that are in that position, they gotta. A man that is let's say a man is a lawyer, he can date everything all the way down to a waitress at a diner. As long as she's youthful and beautiful and cooperative, boom, good to go. Now, some men don't want that. Some men want a woman who works or brings something to the table. That's negotiable. whatever they too. I'm not gonna get in people's relationships and tell them what they must have and what they shouldn't have. But I still fundamentally believe that the men should be ahead, or that at the very least we should have a community where the men are not only ahead, but there's enough of a gap that, invokes a level of deference and respect coming from women. Then everybody's playing the roles, and most people will be happy. Not all. Because these women that, are these hardcore feminist women that do, they want to, operate by the beat of their own drum. You know what I mean? They're always going to be that certain segment of women. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not begrudging for Harriet. I'm not begrudging, Aisha. They want to be independent women, do their own thing, not have to answer to nobody and all that other stuff as women. I'm like, hey, fine. More power to you. Go ahead and do that. But I'm not participating in no shit like that. And neither are many men going to participate in any shit like that. Not participating. You see? Because we know. Again, like I said, you lose either way. If you're ahead, evil patriarchy, misogynoir. If you're behind, he's just a broke dusty. He's not on your level. That's Mary J. Blige and her man. That's Jill Scott and her man. They'll put you in that category. That's Nicki Minaj and her man. They'll put you in that category. You don't want to be in that category. So you got to stay ahead. I'd rather be a black man that is ahead, and I got black women running all around me screaming evil patriarchy, misogynoir, than being in the broke dusty category. Straight up. Or being a black man that's in a position where they just look down their nose at you. Man, fuck that shit. Fuck that shit. On some 50 Cent shit. Get rich or die trying. I mean, plain and simple. Get rich or die motherfucking trying. And men should not be trying to do all this shit just to appease women. They should be doing this shit because they should have a natural inclination to pursue power. And at that point, I don't give a fuck what bitch you have on your arm. I don't care. I don't care. A black man that pursues wealth and resources and power and control. I don't care what woman you have on your arm at this point. Looking at the landscape and looking, at the bullshit that we got to deal with. This whole argument about, the only reason black women are on this is because black men fail. That is bullshit. That is a fraction of the truth. A fraction of the truth. The fact of the matter is we have a lot of women out here that they are seeking and pursuing power. That is what they want. They want power. They want to operate by the beat of their own drum. They want to do their own thing. They want to add men to their program, which I have a problem with. That's what they want to do. But I'm just telling you, a lot of these women are leading you astray. A lot of these women are, again, they're going to continue pumping this message because that's their bread and butter. That's where they're getting them YouTube checks and trying to get that YouTube button and all that other shit. Okay? That's what they're doing. And you got, everyday women out here that, okay, you got a problem with brothers because maybe your brother said some colorist shit to you. Or maybe you had a bad breakup. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe you had a few bad breakups. You know what I'm saying? But like some of y'all, okay, you haven't fucked up yet. You haven't made any permanent decisions. You see what I'm saying? All you got to do is, maintain your weight, look good, be feminine, be cooperative. You know what I'm saying? And you'll have men that are going to recognize you. Yes, every single black man is not going to recognize you. Yes, there are black men out here that ain't looking for or checking for a black woman and they want another race of woman. You shouldn't even be factoring them into your equation. But some of y'all let these other chicks that are on some completely different shit. As I've always said, mileage may vary. You may just be on some, I want to get married and have kids and everything else, but I want to have my own career and have, my own money. Okay, cool. Cool. I get the whole thing about, it being scary to be dependent on a man and he's the sole provider. I've seen some women get raw deals out of that. Yeah, have your own money. But that doesn't mean that you're in the same category as a woman talking about, dark feminist energy and magic and shit like that, and fucking Kali, coming out of freaking a dark portal and shit like that. You know what I mean? That's some other shit. But some of you all, like, you'll see, like, and especially Aisha. Aisha's like a femme fatale to me. You know what I'm saying? Because, and I'm saying, I made a joke to somebody about this, about being, so I was like, some of these women, like we talking about the whole transgender women thing. I'm like, some of these women are trans patriarchal. They look like patriarchal women, but they're not. They look like it, but they're not. They're really matriarchs, but they're trans patriarchal. Like, man, nobody is going to tell me. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, notice like the difference. Like you got for Harriet, she's like, I used to wear makeup and I used to wear heels. I don't wear that anymore because, I felt that I was conforming to the heteronormative, cisgendered, white supremacist, capitalist patriarchy. She goes and says all that shit. I'm like, so you just gonna look like you just rolled out of bed. I'm like, God damn. But then you got Aisha on the other hand. Oh man, I mean, I've seen, let me say this. I have enjoyed objectifying Aisha. Okay, and I've gone through and I've looked at a number, of her pictures. She got dresses, she got heels, she got legs. I mean, oh my God. I mean, it's just insane how fine that woman is. And I'm saying there is nothing about her that I would see out in public or on the street and assume that she's on the type of bullshit that she's on. Ain't no way. I mean, you see the heels and you see the stock. I'm like, oh, she is feminine, all that shit. Oh, she got the red lipstick on. I'm like, oh, she got her hair done, nails done. I'm like, oh, right? You thinking that, yes, I'm going to add her to what I got going on and got this picture perfect situation and we going to be over there looking like that Mercedes-Benz commercial that I had, that black Mercedes-Benz commercial, where the brother pulled up in the CLS or whatever it was and hopped out, and, this black woman came down the stairs ready to go, and then they went and picked some oranges or some shit like that or whatever and go to some produce junction, and not produce junction, but, go to like a farmer's market and pick some fresh fruit, and just enjoy the breeze. And then they took off on a fucking boat. I was like, hell yeah. That's what I want to see. Hell motherfucking yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what I envision, but nah. You get Aisha and she's, I want to run shit. I don't believe in this. I mean, and just like some of the stuff is just nonsensical. Like the part that gets me is a lot of these women, they're like, it's like creating a aircraft without testing it in the wind tunnel. That's the part that kills me. You know what I'm saying? Like the reason why society is structured the way that society is structured is because, you're talking, millennia of this type of organization and patriarchy and, gender roles and everything else like that. And all because, motherfuckers came on the internet within the last 10 years or so. All of that is going to change because, people are triggered and hashtags and all that shit. So I'm like, okay, so you're going to go up against, 100,000 years of human evolution? Really? Really? You're just going to go up against, well, things are changing. Yeah, I can't say that things aren't changing. I wonder what's going to happen with human civilization where, we get robots and robots are doing everything. You don't really have to have gender roles. Like I was always trying to figure that shit out on Star Trek. I'm like, how would that shit work in Star Trek? You know what I'm saying? Like, first off, if I was on Star Trek and shit, I would be on the motherfucking holodeck fucking bitches all the damn time. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would just stay on the motherfucking holodeck. I would go to work, get off of work, get on the holodeck, fuck some bitches, do whatever I want to do on the holodeck, and go back to my quarters and go to fucking sleep, get up, go to work, do it all over again. You know what I'm saying? Or I'd have, like what happens if you got a bunch of datas walking around and doing shit? How does that work? How do women gauge men in terms of productivity and everything else like that? Like, that's going to be a hell of a freaking change for the species. But I'm saying we're not there yet. And then there's all this contradictory shit that goes on that even reinforces we're not there yet. Same women talking about they want to run shit are the same women that want a motherfucker who's, 6'6", 295 pounds of pure muscle, looking like freaking some football player like Metcalf or some shit like that, and looking like, they can fuck somebody up. I'm like, why do you need somebody to look like they can fuck somebody up in a world where, we have gender fluidity and none of this shit matters? Why do you need a motherfucker to be 6'7" and all this stuff? Why do you need that? You just want it. Oh, okay. How does that even get naturally selected for when you have like this sort of fucked up over? I mean, I even look at the black community like that. Like, when it comes to like evolution and biology and, it's like, well, what happens if you have a community where the women, based on this, people will say artificial construct of, black people being underneath the system of white supremacy, which I don't disagree with. I don't disagree with that statement, right? I recognize that we're underneath the system of white supremacy, but what happens when just generation after generation, you got all these women and freaking Pookie's genes are going forward, but none of the intelligent people or productive people's genes are going. It's all big dicks and swag. Like, what happens? Like, what, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what, isn't that going to create more individuals that are, I don't know, have a genetic predisposition to being compulsive or genetic predisposition to being emotional as opposed to logical? And, it's like you just start going down this fucking rabbit hole of everything that is opposite to what we would need to compete with these other groups that are continuing on their trajectory of, natural selection of, wanting certain traits and, certain people have certain values because of, what they do, what their career is, how smart they are, how intelligent they are, just everything. I watched that Sir Pence or whatever his name is. I got some Chinese friends and whatnot. And just the whole, like, everything that they're doing, at 25. Like, I didn't know about that shit. Motherfuckers is like 25 years old buying Bitcoin and all other type of stuff. I didn't know anything. Obviously it wasn't there, when I was that age. But I'm saying, like the shit that they're doing. Just coming up with an idea and just, okay, website's done. All right, let's, boom. And then it's just insane how they do shit. And these guys are nerds. They are nerds. And, they went and they got, Chinese wives, and their wives are not nerds. They're just there. I don't even know how to describe it. They're just wives. It's not even a matter of like, oh, she's a lamette or something. Some woman came and tried to come with that lamette shit. And I'm like, women do not judge men the same way that men judge women. Men want youth and beauty. Women want security. But in the black community, that doesn't seem to be a thing that black women, pursue. They think they can, we're going to go off and get it ourselves and all that other stuff. But I had to explain, to a woman that, women determine whether a EL has value. They determine that just as men determine whether which black woman has value. And this is one of the things that, for Harry and other women don't like. They somehow think that if they tear down patriarchy or something, that men are somehow not going to have final say on who gets chosen. It's delusional thinking. Aisha, she had, that this whole monogamy is for, what did she say? Broke men. And there is some validity to what she's trying to say, but it's like, it just, there's so many holes to it, and here's the reality. Women have been the currency for male productivity. You got to think about the whole world, right? You go into Mother Nature, you get the alpha male. The alpha male gets all the bitches, fucks all the bitches, and all of the other males. If you look at baboons and great apes and shit like that, that's how it is. And then, the silverback gorilla or whoever the alpha male is, one day they get too old or they get too weak, and then they get challenged by another alpha male. And then that alpha male then becomes the next one that gets to procreate. So in that setting, the most aggressive alpha male, gets to pass on his genes. But they're not building anything. They don't have advanced societies and civilizations. They live off of the land. Once human beings graduated into civilized society, okay, there had to be, first off, even if you were an alpha male or an elite male in the society, right, there had to be something in it for the other men. No ruler rules alone. Now, there's a YouTube video titled that. You can go and look that up. It's got 4 million views or 8 million views, something like that. But no ruler rules alone. Okay? That's not going to work with human beings. I'm not going to support you and you go through and you get all the bitches and I'm just sitting there and I get nothing. This is one of the reasons why ELs don't want to help street dudes get their act together. Why they don't want to work with one another. They're like, nah, man, if Pookie can make money legitimately, he would get all the women in the black community. Fuck that. So they're not going to actively help Pookie in basically forcing them out of the sexual market completely. No, they're not going to do that. You know what I'm saying? The wealth had to be shared. It's just like, what you see with the protests right now. Capitalism can try to get as retarded as it wants to. Eventually, people will get sick and tired of being sick and tired. Eventually, people will demand that the wealth be shared. It's like, nah, motherfucker, I'm not going to sit here and watch you make all this money and then we don't get nothing. I mean, this is the beginning of what you see with unions. And guys making, $38 an hour. And then actually it's more than $38 an hour. It was something like $64 an hour. And $12 goes to your annuity, and $1 goes to your sick day fund for each hour that you work, and then this money goes to your health care and full medical and dental. I mean, I didn't put the video in the last. I didn't put the link in the last video's description box, but you'll see what I'm talking about. I mean, that shit breaking down. So technically speaking, the contractors were paying these what do you call it? Linemen. They were the guy, basically the guys that run the electric wire. Overall, the contractor was paying them something like $64. $64 an hour for these guys to do the work that they were doing. Okay, that's not bullshit money. $38 an hour. You can do some shit with $38 an hour. Plain and simple. Plus full medical and dental and all that. You can do some shit with that. So I'm saying, it's like, they said, Genghis Khan, he had thousands of children, and most of the Han people of China are descended from Genghis Khan. And I'm like, how did that shit work? Motherfucker go in a village. I guess he was only having sex or raping the women of the villages that he recently conquered. But it's like you can't fuck everybody. You know what I'm saying? Even if you try to be an oligarchy and have all the women, you can't fuck everybody. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to be able to, yes, I'm the alpha male. All bitches on planet Earth are mine. Like, that's a quick way to get assassinated and taken the fuck out by your number 2 and your number 3 and your number 4. You know what I'm saying? The wealth had to be shared. And also, again, in terms of keeping people, productive in society, it is an agreement. And see, the thing that pisses me off about women is women don't understand the agreements in society, or they pretend like they haven't contributed to the agreements. Chivalry is an agreement. Hypergamy is an agreement, right? I sacrifice my labor for your womb and passing on my legacies and generational wealth through your womb, and the commitment of marriage that even when you are past your fertile reproductive age, I, as your husband, am still obligated to take care of you as the mother of my children. That is the agreement. That's why, you see women getting pissed off in other countries if you waste their time and waste their youth and their beauty, because that is the greatest thing that they have in terms of attracting men and extracting wealth from men. Western society has deluded women into thinking, well, I can get wealth all by myself and whatnot, while we still cling on to these old, traditions. Right. And then like women, like for Harriet, she'll say, yes, we need to get rid of those old traditions. But if you really look at women, and this is the problem, this is why you have MGTOW and MRAs and you have men like myself, women want to have their cake and eat it too. Again, patriarchy diet, patriarchy a la carte, patriarchy light. I'll have some of this and I'll have some of that. Oh, I don't want any of that over there. I'll take the white male responsibility, but you can keep that white male leadership. And I'm going to shame you and talk about how if you try to control that which you build, that's Eurocentric and you're just, trying to be like the white man and you shouldn't be like the white man. Then in other conversations, the black man is the only man that doesn't do X, Y, and Z, completely ignoring the fact that we really don't have a patriarchy and we have a bunch of women that aren't even supportive of the concept of a patriarchy. It's just nuts. You can't even speak about it in theory without being met with significant amounts of rejection. You see. But, it's like women act like they have had no contribution to patriarchy and the way things go. And the crazy thing for black women is, arguably due to black men's weakened position, right, relative to white, black men have already made, 1,000,001 concessions. Black men are not like a lot of other races of men when it comes to these ideas of hardcore patriarchy. A lot of black men, in my opinion, are too laissez-faire and laid back and nonchalant about, being patriarchs. Where, again, as I've talked about before, many of these non-black women that try to run away from their very restrictive, hardcore patriarchal communities, oftentimes, in America at least, will come fleeing and flocking to black men, in terms of, having a more egalitarian relationship. So, like, when I hear black women go out here and paint black men like black men are just these hardcore, patriarchs and shit like that, I'm like, where do y'all get this shit from? Where do y'all get this from? While white men were running around saying, no white women, you can't join in the Olympic Games, or you can't, that's not feminine, blah, 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 blah. Black women out there winning gold medals and all the other type of shit. And brothers ain't tripping over that shit. There's a lot of stuff that we don't even really think about, that we don't trip over, that other races trip over. They trip over that shit. You know what I'm saying? I was dating this Arabic chick one time. Not Arabic, but Arab chick one time. And she had a motorcycle. And man, every man in her family talked her down about the motorcycle. I didn't give a shit. Was that supposed to affect my manhood? Man, how you going to let her she can have a motorcycle. All I know is I'm not getting on the back. You know what I'm saying? I'm not getting on the back. I'm like, she can have a fucking motorcycle. Damn. I'm like, is it that big of a deal? They used to feel that way about, women in the 1800s and shit. Women shouldn't wear bicycles. Like, what do you mean women shouldn't wear bicycles? It's not feminine for women to wear a bicycle or ride bicycles. I'm like, huh? I'm just saying there's a whole bunch of shit black men don't even trip about. And so when these sisters come through and they start screaming rape and pillage and black men are trying to hold us back and keep us down, it's so crazy when you're sitting there and people are accusing you of shit that you really don't even do. Like that's the craziest shit. I'm like, damn, why don't you accuse us of shit that we do? Like, I'll take that. You know what I'm saying? Too many niggas in jail. Yeah, I agree with you. But like they start coming through and start acting like, you're some, hardcore, Islamic extremist who has his wife in a niqab, and like they start talking like that. You sitting like, huh? Huh? What are you talking? Where did you get this from? They come to you all mad and shit. I'm like, again, personally, I think our problem is black men are way too laid the fuck back. And again, you'll get slammed about that in other conversations. Then the strictness and the rules and the regulations, or at least the benefits that come from the rules and regulations that other races of men have established, then black women will take that and throw that in your face and say, well, white men, they don't allow this to happen. I'm like, okay, but I thought if since we allow that to happen, that was freedom, right? And so the shit just keeps flip-flopping all the time. It's very frustrating. At least when you go out here, and this is the beauty, and I hate to say this, but it's the God's honest truth. When you go out here and you date other races of women, you know what the expectations are. Where you stand in terms of what your role is and what her role is. Black men are not going out here and trying to get themselves a strong, independent, non-black woman. You'll never hear no brothers say no shit like that. Man, what I really need in my life is a strong, independent white woman. Ain't nobody saying no shit like that. What I really need in my life is a strong, independent Asian woman. Ain't nobody saying no shit like that. We don't talk like that. We are out here looking for cooperative women that are going to give us, a basic level of fucking respect, a general respect, which again, black women have that disrespectful disposition towards black men. But I keep getting off topic, but the part that just gets me is these ideas and this notion of these untested, unproven theories, like, oh, if we tear this down, then finally we will do away with X, Y, and Z, and women will no longer be judged, and all women will be accepted. And I'm like, I don't know what planet you on, but 300-pound bitches ain't gonna be fucking 200-pound bitches ain't gonna be fucking accepted. Like, I don't know where they get this idea that, yeah, if we tear all this down, that their theories will work. I'm like, where have you tested this? Did you test this out? They literally just come into the room and they just start throwing up, they just start throwing shit at the wall, and hoping it sticks. And I'm like, look, you don't remove something and then it's like Chav or Chaz or whatever the fuck those guys in Seattle that took over the block. They put up their barricades and everything else. When I've seen that shit on TV, I was saying, okay, y'all done took over a block and it's an autonomous zone, and okay, that's cool and everything. First question, where are the toilets? Like, seriously, like if I'm living in this tent city and everything, and I had some tacos, I gotta take a big diarrhea shit. Where can I take this diarrhea shit? Did you even designate an area where people can go? And let's say I just want to pop in a squat. You don't want me to pop a squat right here where the tents are, right? You want me to take my shit somewhere else, probably in a wooded area or something. So where can I go? Should I take a shit in the park? Like, did y'all decide, where that's going to go down? You know what I mean? Or, okay, what happens if a woman gets raped in the tent city? Like, okay, what protections does she have? Is that even a concern? You know what I'm saying? Like, or what happens if there's a crime? Like, okay, who do we go to since, we're not fucking with the cops? Like, how is this shit going to go down? Like, how is this going to go? And then I'm kind of hungry, but, I was previously homeless before I joined this autonomous zone sort of thing. So I don't really have any cash money. But, so I see you got some hot dogs on the grill. I was wondering if I could get one. But, so I don't have any money. So, how are we going to do this whole thing? So it's like bartering or something like that. Like, how about you give me a hot dog and I give you a back rub for maybe 15 minutes or something? Like, how's this going to work? You see what I'm saying? Like this shit is not thought out. They just went out there and was just like, rah, feelings and emotions, rah, and then just didn't think the shit out. That's what I used to get on the hoteps about. We're going to tear down the system of white supremacy. Okay, and replace it with what? Replace it with what that's going to be equally viable. I could see if we tore down the system of white supremacy and we were all out here and we were, living comfortable and, after we tore it down, then all of a sudden black people just rose to the level of Wakandans. I mean, that would be awesome. But I'm like, is that really what's going to happen? Keep in mind, you got a lot of people that are like rebels without a cause. Like they just want to go out there and just, it's like, just rebel. They love the idea of the fight and the warrior and all that other shit. But then as soon as you win the war, and I made a video about this on my old channel before that one got taken down. I was like, you win the war and then what? You know what I mean? You got all these people, they want to, war, end this, end that. And then, okay, fine. Wave the magic wand. It's ended. At the end of the day, you're going to have to go back to your mundane, everyday lives. Okay? Men got to go to work and earn a living. Women got to raise children. You know what I'm saying? Like, that means laundry's got to be done. You know what I mean? You got to cook meals for the fucking children. You know what I'm saying? Men got to go to work every day. You know what I mean? People say, oh, we got to tear down capitalism. Okay, tear down capitalism and replace it with what? A huge welfare state? How does that work? I mean, how do you get people to be productive? This is why the whole monogamy is for broke dudes, because it basically promises a woman to each and every man. And notice that it promises a woman to each and every man, but yet you got for Harriet up there and Ayami Loho trying to exchange a biological woman with a transgender man. Like, what if that man doesn't want a transgender, or a transgender woman? What if that man doesn't want a transgender woman? Trying to take biological women out of the equation and replace them with transgender women. Like, what if he doesn't want that? Because he's not gay. How about that shit? But they go up there and they present these sort of ideas, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, actually, hypergamy and patriarchy and, monogamy, made it so that there was a freaking commitment, going back to what I said about, the man still having to, promise his, his or have his labor, continuously paid out to her, or her have access to it, or he was, to take care of her, even after, she, went past her, reproductive viability. This is why men get crushed in court. You know what I mean? I'm like, yo, man, you can't talk patriarchy and then be talking some old, I married this woman when we were 20, she's old now. I'm going to drop this bitch off at the curb and I'm going to go back and get me another 20-year-old. I'm like, they got rid of that bullshit in ancient times. Okay. And again, you always got rogue males. It's like, I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want to do. You know what I mean? But again, Western society, that shit favors women. Y'all get child custody, y'all get alimony, that's why you got women trying to game the system right now. How do you game a system if it doesn't already work in your favor? But let the women tell it, rape and pillage, all this was designed, for the evils against women, right? I mean, at least some of the women, I've heard some women say, well, in Africa, they don't have this. These are Eurocentric concepts. I'm like, okay. And you get half the women that are like, well, that's why I support white men leading and not black men. Okay, I'll give you that. And then you got other women talking about they still want to tear the shit down, but then they put what the system is on black men. And I'm like, well, you can't say that we don't control the system, we didn't build it, and all this other shit, and then charge us with the responsibility of how shit plays out in the white man system. If you're going to charge us with saying that, well, in Africa, this doesn't exist, and that shows what black men are about, okay, fine. But you're not going to sit there and charge us with both. You're not going to sit there and say, well, this isn't your system, but then say, you're a part of this patriarchal problem that is the system that is not designed, created by you. Because as you can see, there's a lot of black men that got a problem with the way that the child custody and all that shit, plays out. You can't, I'm not in support of men who sit there and, Yeah, I should be able to get married to a chick. She gives me babies, and then, when she's too old, I just dump the bitch and get something else. I'm like, nah, that's gonna cost you. You got to provide for her. You know what I mean? She gave you her years and everything else. You got to send her to college, send her to school. You got to do something. You know what I mean? I don't agree with the whole, the idea. And I'm like, where does this even happen? But I don't agree with the idea of, a woman going out here and just, a man cast her to the side and she gets nothing in her old age. Like, fuck that. But by the same token, again, this goes back to hypergamy, right? This will go back to the whole concept of, women who don't choose men that are ahead of them ultimately end up losing, because you can't squeeze blood from a turnip. If the man has nothing to offer, like we saw this with the woman that had 15 kids who was the guy? What was his name? The guy in Tennessee that had like 31 kids or something like that. I mean, what did he have to offer? Even if you split all his money up, the little bit of money he was making between those 31 kids, he had nothing left over. You know what I mean? So, I mean, they had to cap it off, because I'm like, he absolutely could not survive and live. And I seriously need to know. I want to know what woman number 29 and 30 were thinking. And 31. I want to know what the fuck they were thinking. I mean, just retarded shit. I can't imagine a man's dick game is that amazing. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. We have these women that they come with these sort of ideas, and they're not tested, and they want to tear everything down, and they come up with these theories about how this advantage is and everything. And I'm saying, I have to remind myself that a lot of these women's talking points, it's their hustle. This is how they make their bread and butter. It's not about consistency. They could possibly recognize that everything they're saying is false. Doesn't matter. That's where they get their bread and butter. That's what they built their audience off of. So they're going to run with it. They're going to run with it. I mean, I'm still sitting here thinking to myself, I'm like, how the fuck does that work? I mean, obviously, you got to promise men something. You know what I mean? And truth be told, it's not a promise. Every man does not go out here and get married. You know what I mean? Like making money is a qualifier for you to get married. You want to get married and have kids? Well, you got to produce. And then you will get all of the trinkets and all of the material wealth in society to go off and attract the woman that you want to attract. Now, women will jump up and say, well, see, men should be against that, because that's the government, and see the government is oppressing both of us. And I'm saying, yeah, arguably so. But I'm like, I don't see any women rejecting dude that actually have, all that money. Like, there's enough women out here that are actually like, that they pursue that. It's like, hey, I'm a fine ass bitch. You want to get with me, nigga? I need a Porsche, or some crazy shit like that. Like if you want to date, if you want to attract women, you need to have your own spot, you need to have your own vehicle, and you need to have disposable income to show her a good time. I mean, that's the bare minimum for you to really be in the game or be in the door and be able to date like you want to date. That's the bare minimum for you to have a whole bunch of nice shit. That's hypergamy. So, like, and I'm saying, as fine as Aisha looks, and the heels and the dresses and all that shit that she's wearing, and the makeup and everything, and all the salsa dancing she's doing, I'm like, come on, chick. You ain't, no dude could even remotely ask you out on a date and take you out and take you to some place that you wouldn't be impressed, or goes with the ensemble that you put on. I mean, the audacity of a motherfucker to even think that you gonna be dressed like that and he's just gonna take you to McDonald's or some bullshit like that. Like, no, I'm thinking candlelights at the fucking table, freaking soft music in the background, possibly live music, low lighting. You know what I mean? So it's like, like real dim in there and whatnot, and you're eating in front of the candlelight. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm thinking about. You know what I mean? You have, you're hearing all the glasses, clash against each other in the background, and the music is playing and shit, nice little soft jazz in the background. That's what I'm thinking about. But I'm saying, again, trans patriarchal women, because again, there's no way I would look at Aisha and assume that she's on all the shit that she's on. If you go and you really read her profiles and, all this female empowerment type of shit, man, I'm like, yo, that shit's crazy. But to back it up with these unproven theories and it's just like bell hooks type of shit. I'm like, did you talk to men before you decided to come up with these theories, or y'all just came up with the shit on your own? At least, myself, and I'm sure many other brothers, like when we make videos, we have women we consult and talk to before we come online, with our talking points. We don't just pull nigga babble out of our ass and just start spewing shit. But the women seem to do that. They're like, I know what you're on. I know what you're about. I know what this is. No, you actually don't. You don't know what my fucking motivations are. You know how I know you don't know what my fucking motivations are, nor do you care what my fucking motivations are? Because, again, I got women trying to push transgender women onto straight dudes. Like, what would make you think? How can you scream misogynoir, rape and pillage, and all this shit, all this stuff that black men specifically do to biological black women, and then remotely think, that I have some secret desire for man butt? Like, where the fuck does that come from? I mean, it's just nuts. It's nuts. On some level, at some point in time, the oligarchy, the powers that be, realized that the way to keep people productive is to, I don't even think it just happened. I don't even think there was like a decree. It just happened. It organically happened. You had little villages and little tribes, and, that's how the shit worked. I mean, plain and simple. And aside from the fact that not every man and not every woman gets married or is desirable. And I noticed that there's this concept that these women have, that every woman has value. Every woman is desirable. And they really think that. They really think if they smash patriarchy, if they smash capitalism, if they smash Western civilization, that somehow, they smash white supremacy, that somehow all of the women that are undesirable will be lumped into this general pool of desirability along with the desirable women. And that's so far from the truth, it's insane. Like I said, technically speaking, I don't really need to entertain this bullshit because it's bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Men, they don't have to participate in this shit. Don't participate in it. If the shit looks goofy to you, run. Don't participate in this shit. I mean, it's just amazing to me what they try to sell, but I have no further points to make. I'm just saying, be careful, pay attention to who you listen to. Understand that, for a lot of people, this is their bread and butter. And so even if they realize that, this isn't the way that it is, if they build an audience off of what they're doing, they're just going to double down on it. They're going to double down. They're not in it to have their minds changed and be like, damn, I didn't realize this is what it was. Because they're not here they're not here. I'm not saying that they didn't come here to get to the bottom of shit. But once they start making money on all of this, they're no longer here to get to the bottom of anything. Okay? They have their cults, they have their clans, they have their cliques and their groups and their factions, and that's who they serve. You know what I'm saying? It's like Donald Trump, and when he's talking to, Republicans, and, he's saying shit that, people on the left or even black people, they're just so appalled by and so offended. He's not speaking to you. He's speaking to his people. And talking about, back in my day, we would have dragged them out of here, and we wouldn't have been nice and all this other shit. We would have handled them and everything else. Yeah, he's talking to his base. You see? And so, like, if the internet has just become, a community of bases and a community of people who are just catering to, it's no longer a discussion. And I'm saying to myself, I'm like, well, I mean, what am I doing sitting on here being the only one having a discussion while everybody else is freaking, and check out my merch store, check out my merchandise, check out my freaking, buy this, buy that, oh, thanks for the donation. Oh, thank you. Oh, yeah, okay. Shout out to so-and-so. Oh, and I'd like to talk to my Patreons and all that. Again, the people are giving them money because they're preaching what they want to hear. It's like I said when I did my video joke, Reverend SWP, and I made that joke about how the black pastors, they're not going to tell black women what's actually in the Bible about fornication, and submitting to a man and all that other shit, because 80% of the constituency of any given black church is all women, and you got a lot of single mothers in there. He's not going to talk about a freaking chastity, and talk about a woman's the sanctity of her womb and all that, and how important it is to be a virgin. He's not going to talk about that, because that collection plate is going to start thinning out. You see, he's not going to go up there and start talking about unwed mothers and what the Bible says and submitting to a man, because there aren't enough men in the home. The black community is not patriarchal, so talking about submitting to a man in a broken community, that's not going to work either. You see? So this is why a lot of black men don't show up in the church, among other reasons, aside from the fact that black men cannot survive off of hope indefinitely. They have to deliver. You know what I'm saying? If I'm a black dude and I got a felony and, I go to the church, people tell me Jesus is the light, and I go in there and I'm sitting there and I'm praying and they give me the Bible. I read that motherfucker from front to cover. Okay? And, weeks, months go by and I still need a fucking job. You know what I'm saying? Sooner or later, I'm going to realize this is some bullshit. This is some shit designed to make me feel good, but it doesn't actually solve my problem. And so, once that happens, that's when men stop showing up. Women will go and be attracted to whatever makes them feel good. It's all about feeling good. Okay, it's all about feelings. It's not about planning shit out, which again is another reason why my sexist mind doesn't believe a lot of women should be in the driver's seat when in regards to some shit. Because again, going to Harvard or Yale and majoring in African American studies or majoring in Eastern Eastern languages and civilization really shows a lack of foresight. It's like, oh, I'm going, oh, I like that. I enjoy that. I think I'll major in that. But the shit don't make no money. Not even think. So oblivious about the outside world and the society, and capitalism and the world that we live in, that like they just thought like, oh yes, I'm going to go and major in this, and then when I get out, I'm going to be making millions. I'm going to be making a ton of money. And I'm not saying that either one of these women are not intelligent, in terms of being able to speak well. Yes, they can do that with extreme proficiency. However, when it comes to planning shit out, I'm like, man, and not only that, this further highlights the bullshit of, all the black women that have come online and talked about, how black women, they should be spearheading the community and everything else like that. Because how is it that you get two black women who make it to Harvard and Yale, and there were no other black women to coach them or speak to them and say, if you really want to be a kick-ass, badass, can't nobody tell me fuck you money type of sister, then you need to go in this direction and not this direction. Like, where were the black female coaches, the older black women, to tell these women not to major in some bullshit like the bullshit that they majored in? Where was that? Where was that? Because the reality is nobody really has respect in that. It's like freaking, what's his name? Eric Michael Dyson or whatever. He's like, I have a PhD in religion. Like, nigga, nobody gives a fuck. Like, what the fuck is that? You know, when I heard that he went to whatever Ivy League school he went to, I think it was Yale as well. You know what I mean? And you come to find out that they majored in some theory-based shit. You know what I mean? If there's any degree that people don't have respect for, it's theory-based shit. I think all theory-based shit should be banned, or it should just be an elective or some shit like that. But you shouldn't be able to major in that shit. You got these universities, I mean, they just fill their boards up full of all type of useless degrees and have people literally put their whole lives, in debt off of bullshit ass degrees. As I said before, go look up Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia, if you are a Saudi citizen, they will send you anywhere in the world to get your education. But it's got to be in STEM. They're not fucking around. They're not fucking around. And you know how magical, Saudis are. You know how magical, Arab Muslims are. They're magical as fuck. Everything is all about Allah and all that other shit. But notice, they people are like, oh, they dumb. They not that dumb. Meanwhile, African Americans always want to claim, oh, we're so oppressed and we're this, that, and the third. Like, what business? How are you going to sit there and you're going to talk about, I'm going to go out here and challenge white supremacy, which we know is based off of an economic system, right? We know that wealth is what controls the world. I mean, hell, that's what these women are doing right now. They're online making videos, trying to make money so that they can make the moves that they want to make. Why aren't people going into universities with this mentality? I want to make a lot of money. Okay, these are the fields that make a lot of money, or are the fields that will quickly allow me to move the fastest up the ranks. Right? If black women wanted to take over the world, why wouldn't black women go to school and major in something? Well, you know what? Us black women, we're going to go out here and kill it. Fuck Elon Musk. We're going to go over here and we're going to take over the tech sector. Fuck Mark Zuckerberg. We're going to go over here and we're going to take this shit over. If black women really were going or wanted to take over the world on some matriarchal shit and were really about that shit, then all of them would be computer tech geeks. And the crazy thing is, that's something that women could actually do and get paid lots of money for. That's something that they could actually do, come up with their own tech companies and everything. Because, again, it's all based on your skill and how long you want to sit in front of the computer and you and your latte and writing code and coming up with programs and apps for phones and shit like that. You could have black women becoming millionaires overnight. Then they could run around swinging the big dick sword, talking about what they are and ain't going to get with and how they're going to topple this and topple that. And you can't fuck with us because we own, Wakandan.net or some shit like that. I'm saying that's how you take over some shit. But see, these women come through. They want to take over shit on the back of fucking feelings and shaming tactics and saying and just speaking shit into existence. It's nonsense. It's nonsense. If they were serious about really taking some shit over, they wouldn't have majored in what the fuck they majored in. I mean, seriously speaking, even with Aisha, I'm like, okay, you were at the news station, you were being a quote unquote journalist, but you didn't even major in journalism. What type of sense does that make? I understand a lot of people go into, fields that, aren't what they, but I'm saying, like, obviously that wasn't her passion or what she wanted to do. And she actually stated that. She told somebody else, oh, well, that's moving backwards. Why would I want to move backwards? I'm like, oh, okay. So, this isn't about you having a career. This is about you being your own motherfucking boss. That's what this shit is about. You see? So I'm just saying, people who are always out here operating on feelings and just this sort of wishful thing. I've been calling it out for over a decade now. People who think like this are the people, who have no business in the driver's seat. Straight up, have no business in the driver's seat. But anyway, I think I've said all that I'm going to say. So that is all I have to say. That is my video. SWP out.